The stage is set. A pivotal day here in the 2021 SPL season,
with Lion City Sailors firmly in the driving seat because they know that they control their destiny.
For me, it's a must-win for them. If they've got hopes of winning that title, their first ever title.
They have to win it, of course, if they want to have any chance of
A local team win the league for the first time in 6 years.
I'm just hoping that that psychology of the situation in terms of how big it is, what's at stake, doesn't sort of seep into the players yet.
And on the final day of the season, Jalan Besar beckons.
That's right, Jalan Besar beckons. And it's a special weekend in the Singapore Premier League, and the Rated RR podcast are going to be right here with you. And for that, we've got two special guests. One of them is the face of the Rated RR podcast, as well as the face of the Singapore Premier League, Roshan Rai. Thank you for joining us. As well as Shazad Haq, the man who's been on commentary for the Singapore Premier League for years and years and years, and the face of the league as well. Shazad, great to have you with us. How are you doing?
Hey, Roshan and Roshan. Yeah, really good to be with you guys. It's been an interesting week of action, combined with being at home a lot. So I'm actually always looking forward to the games even more than usual.
And speaking of the games, how excited are you for this grandstand finish that we are in for? I mean, October 10th, billed as the date for a Singaporean team to finally win the Singaporean League. How excited are you, Shez?
You know, first of all, it's been a long time since I can remember when we actually had a title race. So this is something quite unique for the recent past. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. I mean, when you look at the table now and the games that are coming up for the two teams in question, Lion City Sailors and Albirex Niigata, it's pretty clear who's in the driving seat. And therefore, you kind of know where this is going to go because you expect the results to go one way, but this is football. Anything can happen on the last day. And I think it's really good. It's only been in the last few years that the SPL has had all the final day fixtures played at the same time. This didn't used to be the case. Roshan will know that very well. So I'm quite happy that this has come about, particularly in an eventuality like this, where it could go either way.
Shez, I feel we need to have you on the podcast more often, purely because I haven't heard from Roshan, and this is the longest I think we've kept Roshan at bay. Roshan, without further ado, let's come to you. Did you see this coming? Because you and Shazad were on comms for the LCS Albirex game, and I just rewatched it before this recording. And on comms, it seemed all Albirex, and then suddenly LCS and the driving seat. Did you see this coming?
No, I didn't. But first of all, yeah, I agree. I think Shez should be on more because this is the first time, Raushan, when you were introducing me, you actually thanked me for being on the show. So, I appreciate that. And it's also
I'll wait for my turn.
It's also nice to see you guys also formal and everything, in front of the camera. And, this is going out to millions and millions of our viewers out there and our listeners. But look, if you go back to the question of did I see this coming? No, I didn't. I thought when Albirex had scored that equalizer late on in that game against the Lion City Sailors, I thought that was it. I thought that was a title done and dusted because I simply didn't see that boost that Albirex would have had from that game. I simply didn't see sort of them dropping points in their final two matches. But it turned out that Tampines decided to play Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. I mean, how involved were they in that title sort of run-in? They were woeful against Lion City Sailors, helping them with the goal difference as well, losing like 6-1, I think it was. And then suddenly it's like, they put in a incredible defensive display and they keep out Albirex. So they've actually had a massive part to play in the title run-in as well. But yeah, look, I certainly didn't expect it. I mean, credit to Lion City Sailors. They kind of kept going. It could have had an effect on them mentally. But look, they kept going. They kept up the pressure, and they got rewarded with a bit of a favor via Tampines Rovers, and now they're in the driving seat.
Completely. I mean, it's caught all of us by surprise. But I think I speak for majority of the Singaporeans when I say pleasantly surprised to see a Singaporean team so close, right? Shez, you mentioned about the fixtures being played at the same time. And both of you were joking in commentary about having a helicopter on standby over the weekend. But honestly, are you really expecting Balestier to?
I'm not sure we were joking though, Raushan.
I mean,
we are getting a sponsored helicopter. I thought, isn't that right, Roshan?
Wasn't that part of the deal?
let's work on getting a sponsor first, and then we can talk about sponsored helicopters, okay? So, Shaz, are you really expecting Balestier to spoil the LCS party?
I did the game on Sunday where Balestier were playing Geylang International. I got to say they were poor. They were really poor. I'm not sure there's any other word to describe it. I just want to caveat that by saying that, of course, they've been in COVID isolation. They haven't played since September 12th. So it's been a while. But it was beyond rustiness. Look, there's no real cohesion in this team. I know they've had an uptick in form. I don't want to take that away. I think we're going to cover this later. The bottom 4 teams have certainly improved. But there was just very little going on for them going forward, creating a couple of decent opportunities. That mainly came from dead ball situations, right? I wasn't very impressed with the way they went forward, the creativity. But I'm afraid that's a complaint I've had about Balestier Khalsa for far beyond these last few weeks. It's been a while. So I don't anticipate an upset. And if it is an upset, that would be a huge one. Probably, I would say probably the upset of the season, coming the way it does in the context of this league story.
Of course, completely agree.
Yeah, incredible. No, I was just going to jump in because I was just going to say, if this game was taking place at Toa Payoh Stadium on that pitch,
different story.
Different story. But it's taking place at Jalan Besar, nice surface. It'll be watered. They'll water the pitch. So it is a surface that's going to suit the Lion City Sailors as well. But again, we have seen them sort of falter. We have seen them drop points against Balestier. We have seen them pick up a few draws, especially under Kim Do-Hoon. So, look, the odds or the chances of Balestier pulling off an upset are slim, not very high.
Yeah.
But it could happen. It could happen. I mean, I didn't expect Albirex to be in second going into the final match day, but it's happened, and the Lion City Sailors are in a really good position here.
Just want to add that Roshan and I have yet to do a Lion City Sailors game at Jalan Besar, and they've won. If you're into this kind of thing, you're looking at omens. They have only drawn at Jalan Besar Stadium when Roshan and I have done live games. Just putting it out there.
I feel like after some of the players listen to this podcast, Forrest Lee is going to call the people who decide on commentary, and there might be a swap. But hopefully that jinx is broken this weekend. Rosh, I just want to come to you. When we spoke to Haris earlier this year, he said it's all about somehow, some way getting your nose over the line. Doesn't matter how. Yeah. And they put themselves in a great position to do that. But you're a former pro. You've been in high pressure situations before. How is the mood going to be like in the camp going into Sunday? Like, what's it like?
I think you got to relish it. I think, the Lion City Sailors players have spoken about the fact that, if they don't win a title, it's a massive disappointment because of all the, it's something that Shaz and I have spoken about this season as well when we've worked together on their games, and the players themselves have taken sort of that on. They've taken that responsibility on. And you mentioned our chat with Haris, it's not just our chat with Haris, but Stipe as well. Stipe Plaziba has spoken about it, saying that if they don't win the title, it will be a massive disappointment. The expectations there are so high, and because of the sort of resources that they have, the squad that they have, what they're capable of, this should be sort of the minimum for them in that sense. So I think they'll relish it. There's plenty of experience in there, right? You've got lots of internationals in that squad. So it's not like it's a situation where, they're just sort of being thrown into. It's not like you've got lots of young players in there and it's a first title race for them. There are senior players in there with international experience and with big game experience. And what I hope they don't do is I hope they don't have that element where fear starts to grip them because they've got something to lose now. They go into this as the favorites in the title race. They go into this as the favorites against Balestier. Stick to the way they've been playing against teams, the way that they've approaching games against teams, local teams especially, which is to set the tempo and a high tempo and a high intensity at the start and absolutely blow Balestier away. I think for me, that's the only way to do it. I don't think they should be going into this game cautious. I don't think they will, but that's an option, right? You can always go into a game and say, we're going to be cautious here, and then we're going to try and see what happens and get and nick a goal here and there or whatever it is. I think go at a good tempo, play at a high tempo right from the start. And that's where I think they'll sort of find success. Look, I think people will be saying, don't think in the build-up to it. Don't think about the game. Don't worry about too much about what you have to lose and things like that, the stakes and all that. Don't worry about how high the stakes are. yeah, you can say that, but we're humans, right? And we as players as well. I know I always used to look at the table to see where we were, and I'd keep a lookout for teams around us. Whether they be dropping points, whether they be losing their games, and that gives us an advantage. That gives us a boost as well. So it will happen. You will think about it, but that can be helpful. You can think about it and you can get it out of your system in that sense. So you can think about it and you can visualize certain things happening in the game, what you'd like to be doing in those situations and things like that. So there are strategies to sort of get around that. But I think overall, they go into this, they are heavy favorites, and I would just like to see them really stamp their authority in that game against Balestier.
I mean, it's poised so fantastically, and the way you've put it, everyone's looking forward to an exciting game. Just coming to you, we saw Jalan Besar sold out for that clash between Lion City Sailors and Albirex. Excellent atmosphere. What are we expecting? I mean, COVID willing, of course, we've still got a few days, but COVID willing, what are we expecting in terms of, I have to even add in that line, but what are we expecting in terms of an atmosphere on the October 10th?
So I did say earlier that when Roshan and I have done the Jalan Besar games for Lion City Sailors, they haven't won. I will also add to that the atmosphere for both games, and I have to say probably the first game where we did, which was against Hougang, because I think it was probably a better spectacle. It was less of a chess match, the first one we saw, but the atmosphere for both those matches has been fantastic. And I think you've got to give a lot of kudos to Lion City Sailors. They're a brand new club, right? I mean, when they were previously in their previous iteration of Home United, it was very much a uniform-based support from Bishan. Let's face it, Singaporeans like winners. Let's face it. That's the truth. They are a club with a winning mentality now. People are drawn to them, what they're doing. They're working a lot on outreach. They have got resources now. People are jumping on the bandwagon, whether we want to admit it or not. And that's the truth. And they are getting fans. People are gravitating towards them. It's really nice to see. I never used to hear chants for Home United or Lion City Sailors. Not really. We're getting chants now. We're getting fans getting really into it. When goals are getting scored, people are going crazy in the stadium. And the atmosphere is brilliant. And you know what? I think something, Roshan, that Roshan and I really enjoyed, the upper stands of Jalan Besar. I have never, ever seen domestic league game in the 10 years I've been there, which is not a cup game, a domestic league game. I haven't seen the upper stands ever filled like that. So I think these are really, really good signs. And I think we're going to have a bumper crowd for this weekend.
You know what's great as well is it sort of drives on the other teams as well, and the supporters of the other teams as well. It's almost as if to say, we're going to try and raise our game as well to try and do this. We're not going to let the Lion City Sailors fans sort of out-cheer us or outshine us or things like that. And that's not to say that the fan clubs of the other teams haven't been doing well through the years. No. Let's give credit to them. They've been there with their teams. They've been very loyal supporters, and they've been supporting their sides through the years as well, which has always been sort of great to see. But now you have that sort of increased, I feel anyway, you have that sort of increased element of that rivalry. And, I know lots of Singaporeans are saying that they want the Lion City Sailors to go out and win it. But there could come a point as well where Lion City Sailors become, like a JDT or like a Manchester City, which is absolutely fantastic for them. But they run away with titles. And then suddenly you go from being everyone's favorite just because Albirex are a foreign side to becoming the enemy. I mean, that's something to think about down the line.
Of course.
But I like that we have this in Singapore football. I think this project is the Lion City Sailors project is absolutely superb. And I think it's a sign of what can happen with Singapore football, what can be done. And you want to see it happen with other clubs as well. So, not just things on the pitch, but things off the pitch. And in terms of things like that fan rivalry, and that's something that has been lacking in Singapore football for a while. We're not like Malaysia where we have states against states and where there's that interstate rivalry. Here it's like, we're all sort of Singaporeans, and maybe there's a rivalry between Bishan and Toa Payoh or something.
Is that? Okay.
Or maybe Tampines and Geylang. So it's
that's the game I'll be at, by the way.
It's So it's something that we kind of need to try and build as well. This rivalry, and so I think what's happening now is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, Shaz and I were lucky enough to do commentary on these games. We're lucky enough to be there and experience this atmosphere. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. I can't wait for the day when more people are allowed to come into the grounds.
And long may it continue. Shaz, please.
Absolutely. I just want to add, in that second game we did for Lion City Sailors against Albirex.
Yeah.
When Albirex scored in the 94th minute, right?
Yeah.
You know, of course, there was a hush on our left, but on our right, you know, people want to talk about Albirex being this foreign side, as Roshan said. I tell you what, I saw a lot of locals going crazy in the stand because that's their team, and that's something I want to give a lot of props to Komiti and the team at Albirex Niigata, because they spend a lot of time. I think it's Yuhua, CC. They do a lot of outreach. They really spend a lot of time and effort, because that's what they do in Japan as well, right? They transplanted that here. The fans have taken to them. The fans in Jurong, the east side of Jurong, absolutely love them, right? And I think that's a testament to Albirex Niigata. So we want to take a lot from what we've seen from Lion City Sailors. I think we also take a lot from what Albirex Niigata have done.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason why I did that quotation mark is because to me, Albirex are a side that, you know, I don't regard them as a foreign club anymore. I feel like they're really ingrained. To me, I feel like they're part of the family.
Absolutely.
They're an SPL club, and now you've got local youngsters in there, you've got local players in there. You've spoken about the community outreach and being in that part of Singapore and in Jurong East and things like that. So for me, it's absolutely brilliant. And the fact that they keep bringing in players and new Japanese players that come in, the sort of talent that we are exposed to, the level of training, the level of play, the fitness levels, and, you know, it helps local teams to try and bridge that gap as well. So, you know, to me, they've been a fantastic addition to the league.
Fabulous. I think it's also good that they bring in Japanese players who then stick around, join other teams, and then there's a knock-on effect for a lot of these other teams as well, right? Let's stick with Albirex, and Shazad, I'll start with you. They have been the team to beat for the past few years. They always have that arrow on their back. But it's not going to be the end of the world if they lose on Sunday, is it? Because clearly, most of us expect them to come back next year.
You know, what was interesting, I was doing the LCS Geylang game, I think, and Roshan and I were on that game. That was at our Tampines hub, which they eventually won. And I was getting some texts from people saying, actually, and I think they were Geylang fans, to be honest with you. I don't want LCS to win this, because it's just going to be probably a 10-year domination, a bit like what we've seen with JDT, as Roshan mentioned earlier, that they dominate the Malaysian league. So some people quite like the fact that maybe it's a 2-horse race. We know for a fact that every year now, the way the recruitment of Albirex Niigata is so good, and now they've expanded beyond the universities. They've gone to the J League team, J2, J3.
Yes, that's right.
And Tsuboy, what a fantastic talent he is.
Yeah. Kurabo Kondo as well. Yeah.
Kondo's another one.
Yeah.
Are these guys going to stay here? I suspect not. I suspect Roshan, you were saying most of them do. I think these two probably head back. But look, I don't think this is the end for Albirex Niigata. They are trying to, and going back to Roshan's point, they're trying to become more local, right? They're bringing more locals in. We're getting a lot of their expertise, and I think it bodes well for Singapore football, as he says. But I think they're always going to be in the mix. I remember 10 years ago when Roshan was playing, they weren't really in the mix then, were they? They were mid-table, upper reaches perhaps, but never ever challenging for the title like they've done for the last half decade.
Yeah, I'm gonna pat myself on the back and say that back in my day we were better and all that. No, I'm not gonna go down that road. Don't worry about it. Look, I think they come back with a vengeance. If they miss out on the title, I think they come back with a vengeance next season, and that's absolutely brilliant, because I mean, I love me a title race, right? I'm a neutral in that sense right now. I don't really have a team at the moment and in the title race, and this is just absolutely brilliant to see in terms of these two guys coming at each other. And what was fascinating for me was to see Albirex with that late equalizer against Lion City Sailors, right? Yes, they were celebrating, they were really happy in the stands, on the pitch. What was interesting for me was to see a tweet, I think, from Yoshinaga, who was the previous coach. I think now he's a technical director, if I'm not mistaken. And he actually said, that perhaps shouldn't have been the way. It should have been take the ball, let's get it started, let's try and win the game. So I think the mentality is, not just to settle, but to we keep going until the final whistle. Even if you scored in the 95th minute, get the ball out of the back of the net, let's restart, let's try and go again if we can. And that is absolutely a brilliant mentality to have. And that's why I think, if they lose out on the title, they'll be hurting. and they'll come back next season with a vengeance.
I mean, I think both of you have given me so much to look forward to, and the rest of the fans and listeners listening in October 10th. What time is kickoff? Just remind me.
5:30. All of them 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5:30 kickoff, Jalan Besar Stadium. There's a title at stake, and it's going to be exciting. And we hope the fans will turn out in droves, and surely there'll be lots of good football to look forward to. Just before we wrap up the show, the season is ending off. So as the season ends off, a champion will emerge, but so will the season awards. So I want to get both your takes on the season awards as we go. We'll start with one of the left field ones. I want to come up with an award called the Moment of the Year, purely because I feel the Singapore Premier League doesn't have enough storylines. That's my biggest problem with the league, so to speak. And I think there's been so many storylines that can be rehashed, positive or negative. So, Shaz, why don't you start me off? What's been your moment or story of the year?
Oh. Well, look, I actually think that the fact we've had COVID, that we only had 2 cases, and after the restart, for me, what I've really enjoyed is because before the restart, it was becoming a 2-tier league. There was a top 4 and a bottom 4, right? And people were making a lot about this, the disparity between the two. What I loved was the fact that it started to just tighten up. That also, of course, dovetailed with the decline of Tampines Rovers. That's been well documented. I know you guys have certainly been discussing it a fair bit, but I don't want, let's give a lot of credit to the bottom 4. They upped their game. I mean, there's some great signings for Tanjong Pagar in particular. They just started to gel, right? And, you know, Young Lions, I'm really, really impressed with Young Lions and how Filipao has got them playing. You know, Balestier upped their game. Even despite the loss of Zaiful Nizam, they still managed to take points against Tampines in their next game. And Geylang International have been playing some good stuff from time to time, right? They're just not being able to have injuries and NS on their side, like a lot of other sides. But the fact that the league sort of narrowed and the bottom 4 showed what they can do, particularly, I think, as I said, you know, if you look at Young Lions, they probably, there's a great picture to that. They envisage, they embody this comeback from the bottom 4.
The reason I was laughing halfway through is because I was wondering where you were going with the point, and then you brought it back and made us understand. I completely agree, because I think when the season resumed, I also suspected that they will catch up, and eventually they caught up. For me, though, the moment of the season is, there was this guy on commentary, you might know him, when Luis Junior scored a fabulous goal to beat Albirex Niigata. He went absolutely crazy, and that's my moment. I think he said something along the lines of, "You beauty," you know, something like that.
Wonder who that was.
I don't know. Dulcet tones, though, really. I mean, if you have time, go check out the highlights.
Terrible commentary, making it all about himself.
I remember that one.
Rosh, why don't you tell me what's your story of the year?
Wow, I mean, again, to sort of pick one is just so difficult for me, because, you know, there's just so many things. I mean, Chef spoke about the bottom 4 closing that gap. We had Tanjong Pagar. You had the drama at Geylang. You've had Tampines.
What drama at Geylang?
Go have a look at our episode. Go have a listen into our episode with the King of Kalang, Zainal Gulam. If you're tuning in now, it's in there. I guess go look through the playlist. He explains it all very well. So there was that. There was Hougang's performances this season. I think have been really good. You know, playing sort of this counter-attacking, high-intensity game at times, and you know, being quite entertaining in certain matches. And I think the positive, the fact that we've had a proper title race, and the fact that we've had it's not a title race between DPMM and Albirex, it's a title race between Albirex and a local team, the Lion City Sailors. And you know, we've seen some teams try to play an entertaining brand of football. We've seen variation in tactical styles throughout the league. We see young coaches coming through. Philip Au, you've mentioned. Philip Au has been there for a while, but you know, he's quite one of the better coaches in Singapore football. Gavin as well, facing his first big test with Tampines Rovers, and that slump, and being that person who sort of has to dig them out of it. You know, I think Kim Do-Hoon coming into the league was incredible. a coach of his sort of caliber and his quality coming into the Singapore Premier League was just brilliant. And then Albirex, I'm always impressed by Albirex and how they play their football. So to pinpoint it to just one thing is so tough for me, because it's been okay. I guess the one thing I would say is the fact that Shaz touched on it, the fact that we've had COVID and we've sort of overcome that. In a sense, we sort of overcome that. We've got the league going. We've played the matches. We've brought fans back into the grounds. I think that is, for me, the big storyline of this season. This triumph over COVID in that sense. You know, we're still getting on with our games. We're still getting fans out here. We're continuing with the broadcast and things like that. And the league is still ongoing. So that's a credit to the authorities, whoever was involved with that, for the FAS, to the fans out there, and to Singaporeans in general, you know, for working together and going through this together. And, you know, when we had to sort of follow the rules and things like that, we did. And, you know, hopefully we start to see our reward a little bit down the line as well. And, you know, things sort of stabilize a little bit as well.
If I can just one quick point to add on to what Roshan said, I think COVID has actually worked in the SPL's favor in the sense that I feel, and I would love to hear what you two, you know, think about this, is there seems to be an uptick in interest in the SPL, in local football, whether it's negative or positive. And I largely feel that people are now more engaged and trying, you know, and looking for positives in it. I feel that COVID, because there's been less live sport, people are desperate to go out and engage. It has actually been very beneficial for the SPL.
No, I certainly agree. I think the conversation about the Premier League, Singapore Premier League, has been so wide, and many people are getting involved. And I introduced this segment by saying there wasn't enough storylines, but both of you in the last 5 minutes have completely proved me wrong.
Sorry.
Listing a laundry list of everything that the league has to offer, really.
I forgot Zaiful's issue with Balestier as well, but I think Shaz touched on that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So positives, negatives, which is absolutely brilliant to see.
Story points, guys.
Yeah.
Story points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guys, I have a couple of more questions, but you guys need to promise me that this will be quick fire, because if not, we're going to be here all day.
Okay.
Right?
Shaz, come on, talk less now. I know you're used to talking quite a bit.
Occupational hazard. I apologize.
I mean, I think you guys have done your dress rehearsal for Sunday now, but quickly to this quick fire. Coach of the year, Shazad.
I'm going to go with Philip Au. I know that's a bit left field, but Philip Au.
He's also in the playlist. If you want to listen to him, he's also in our playlist. Go check him out. Rosh?
$10.
Sure, set us up nicely for that one. Yeah, we've spoken to Philip Au as well. I don't know. I mean, I think Philip Au is a very good coach, but Young Lions are finishing last, so I don't know. I mean, again, if you just look at it based on that, it's tough for me to sort of. I know where Shaz is coming from, because it's a resource thing, right? What he's got to work with. Exactly. So yes, you know, I would go along with that somewhat. But I think for me, it's got to be someone in the upper reaches of the table. And I'm kind of torn between Shigatomi and Clement Teo. I think I'm going to give it to Shigatomi.
That's actually who I wanted to say, but I just thought I want to go a bit left field, make it interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marko Kraljevic. No,
that's very left field.
That's completely
next one.
Yeah, sorry. Carry on.
Next one. Young Player of the Year. We go with Roshan first.
Young Player of the Year. You know what? I think I'm going to give it to Hougang left back, Farhan Zulkifli. Wow. Because this is a guy who I think, you know, has been fantastic for Hougang. And I think doesn't actually get enough credit for the work that he actually does. You know, I think because he plays week after week, and, you know, he's consistently there and he's quite consistent with his play, people just kind of sort of forget about him. And people are more focused on Noor Adam, who's another potential choice. Noor Adam at left back. No, I'm not okay. You go with Shaz, you go with Noor Adam.
Time's up, Rosh. Time's up.
Sorry. Saifullah.
What?
Like that. Okay, sorry. Let me wrap this up and go with Farhan Zulkifli.
Okay. Shaz, he's stolen all your options there.
I'm done. No. Okay, look, very quickly. Until he got injured, I was loving Idraki Adnan. Okay,
yes.
I want him to go and wait. I believe there's a pod as well, is he?
Yeah, yes, that's right. One of our earlier episodes with Idraki Adnan.
I'm expecting a check in the mail, by the way. But yeah, Idraki for me. Watch out for him, everyone. Next season, he is going to be superb.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
For me, Ilhan Fandi, I think he's had a bit of a breakthrough season, and he's going to take part in regional tournaments, and hopefully he can push on from there, hopefully. Quickly now, player of the year. We'll start with the local player of the year. Shazad first.
Start with me. Let's go to Roshan. I got to think about this quickly.
Okay. I know it's supposed to be quick, but I can't help myself. Occupational hazard, as you said. I've got a couple of options here, so help me out, guys. It's either Amy Reka at Geylang or Shadan at Lion City Sailors.
Okay.
For local player there. I just think Shadan has been like that linchpin for Lion City Sailors in central midfield. But Amy Reka has had a fantastic season and has really sort of like just put himself right in the spotlight there. I'm gonna go with Shadan.
Oh, I'm voting for Amy Reka because I just think it's been a breakthrough season for him. I think best goals return yet, got the call-up, much deserved call-up for the national team. It also comes at a time where Singapore is struggling for strikers, right? So it's nice to see Amy take up that challenge and raise his game almost and get the well-deserved call-up. So Amy for me. Shaz?
Okay, I think Amy was great, and I was looking. God, I don't want to say the same thing. I don't want to say anything. 11 goals already this season, and he's still got one more game to play. I'm gonna have to plump for and let me go for an attacker. Okay, I guess, and he's only had really about half a season, but I think he's got more to come through. Okay, Faris. I'll just go with Faris. I'm just gonna plump it. You put me on the spot. Okay, I'm gonna put me on the spot, but I think he's been great given he's not played that much.
I'm surprised neither of you has picked up Gabriel because he's had a fantastic season as well.
Yeah, but
not see, Gabriel is already reigning player of the year, so we'll find somebody else. He's already the reigning player of the year.
Spread the love.
Exactly,
yeah.
Sharing is caring. Very quickly. Foreign player of the year.
I think this is an easy one for me. I say easy. Actually, it's not easy. Tomoyuki Doi is only because of his contribution to Hougang this season. I mean, look, could have been Zuzul, could have been Georges Philippe, could have been Moresh for me. But I think it's Tomoyuki Doi for me who takes it.
So very, very quickly, I was going to say him, but because you said Doi, I'm going to go with Georges Philippe because he's been a rock at the back and he's chipped in with goals as well.
Wow, that was the quickest one. All right, guys, it's been absolutely fabulous chatting to the both of you. Shazad, thank you so much for spending time with us and setting the scene for us. Rosh, week in, week out, we do this. I don't say thank you enough, apparently. So thank you very much for joining us. We hope you listeners enjoyed it as much as we did. Remember, October 10th, 7:30 kickoff. Am I correct? Yes, 7:30.
5:30. 7:30 is the lift, the trophy lift.
7:30 is trophy lift. 5:30 and then 5 o'clock if you want to have a look at Shaz and me again and listen to us yammer on about the games.
So again, 5:30 kickoff at Jalan Besar Stadium. If you can't get a ticket, join them live at 5 o'clock. Guys, before you go, yes or no answers only. Is LCS winning the title on Sunday?
Yes.
Maybe. Yes. No. Yes.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Fabulous, guys. Cheers.
Roshan, thank you as well, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really had fun.
Thank you.